So welcome everyone. Good morning, good evening, good good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. The title of this talk is PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate. Who am I? My name is Prashant Bhoyar. I was born and raised in India. I came to United States in 2007 for studies. I'm University of Maryland College Park alumni. I co-authored a book, PowerShell for Office 365. I also acted as a technical reviewer for the book Pro SharePoint 2013 Administration. I am from Washington, D.C. area of United States, and pre-COVID-19 pandemic, we used to organize a lot of in-person conferences. And now, ever since the pandemic has started, we have converted all our conferences to virtual only. And from last couple of years, most of the conferences we are organizing are around AI, machine learning, bots, and all, and around big data. So if you are interested, if that is your area of interest, you can definitely join us and find the latest and greatest information by going to azurecloudevents.com, and there will see the information about upcoming conferences and also the user group meetings. I am recipient of Antarctic Service Medal. I got this award from US government for the work I did in Antarctic continent back in 2008. And since 2017, I'm also recipient of Microsoft MVP Award. Now, those of you who are not familiar with this award, I don't work for Microsoft. It's just the additional recognition that Microsoft gives out to the folks who does technical contributions. And these technical contributions can be in the form of speaking at conferences, writing blog posts, contributing to open source project, answering people's questions on various public forum, providing direct feedback to the Microsoft product group, creating training content and posting them on streaming platforms such as YouTube, or writing books. And typically this award is valid for 12 months. And after 12 months, you have to submit your contributions. And if your contributions are good enough, then Microsoft will get extend this award for additional 1 year. And the cycle continues. Uh, Earlier, my category was Office 365 apps and services, especially SharePoint. And since 2019, I changed my category to AI. And right now I work as cloud solution architect with AIS, where my focus is intelligent business process automation. I know it's kind of sound a mouthful, but what eventually I do is I focus on automation, and for that we use variety of the products and services which are available in Microsoft ecosystem, such as Power Platform, Microsoft 365, Azure AI, and bots. And I work at AIS, Reston, Virginia headquarter. AIS is providing services in Microsoft ecosystem from last 40 years. And we have been a recipient of Microsoft Partner of the Year award on multiple occasions. And AIS is growing. We have a lot of openings. I know the job market is kind of really hot in India as well as in other parts of the world. But in India, we have so many open positions, especially a couple of them are related to the Power Platform. So if you or someone in your network is looking for a change, we have tons of opening, and you can be anywhere located within India. You don't have to be like in a specific location because we can have 100% remote employees. So if you see any of these positions that interest to you or someone in your network, definitely share your resume to this particular email address, or you can also connect with me and I can provide you some additional details as well. So before we jump into the actual content of this particular talk, I always have this slide in my talks is, remember, the technology and tools doesn't matter. What kind of business problem we are trying to solve using those tools matters a lot. So I know like we are using a virtual Teams conference, so I will be quickly skipping this. So this is going to be the agenda. We'll start with what is PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate. Why should we even care and why should we even use it? Because we already have Admin Center and we also have the Flow UI or Power Apps UI where we can do a lot of operations that we typically need to do. Then why we had to take time away from that and then learn about PowerShell, like what PowerShell brings on the table. How to use PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate. I will have demos, best practices, and key takeaways and Q&A. So feel free to post your questions in the chat window along with Nandeep and rest of the organizers. I will be also periodically monitoring the chat window so that uh, don't hold on your questions, just fire them away right away. So you may be seeing this slide multiple times, or you may be already seeing this time like a million times. The only reason I have this slide here is in case someone is watching this talk later on the YouTube. and if they are totally new to the Power Platform. So Microsoft Power Platform is a low-code platform that spans across Microsoft 65, Dynamics 65, Azure, and standalone application. And these are the four main products we have, like Power BI for business analytics, Power Apps for application development, Power Automate for workflow automation, and Power Virtual Agents for intelligent virtual agents. And the PowerShell commandlets or models we're talking about is only applicable for these two products. So far, we don't have any commandlets for Power BI and Power Virtual Agents. Of course, you can do some kind of basic changes, but however, those are mostly at the admin level. However, the only commandlets we'll find is for Power Apps and Power Automate. So when it comes to managing the Power Apps and Power Automate, we have two options. You can either use browser, and using browser, you can access the admin center, or you can use PowerShell. So in this session, we are strictly going to be focusing on PowerShell portion of it. So when it comes to the Power Automate Admin Center, there are multiple ways where you can access this Admin Center. You can either go there from Microsoft 65 Admin Center, or you can go to admin.flow.microsoft.com, or you can go to us.flow.microsoft.com, which is typically the URL you will be using. Again, depending on your country, this URL may change, but it will be flow.microsoft.com. And then on the top right section in the gear icon, if you click there, there will be settings option. And if you click admin center, then that's how you can navigate to the Power Automate admin center. And the Power Automate Admin Center help us to manage the data policies that we have, the environments, the user licenses, the quotas, and all the flows that are there within your organization. Similarly, same kind of options available to us for the Power Apps Admin Center. We can access the Power Apps Admin Center via Microsoft 65 Admin Center, or we can directly go to the link called admin.powerapps.com. Or you can go to the mech.powerapps.com, and there on that particular screen or that particular site, you can just go to the settings and then click on Admin Center. And to see the settings, you'll need to click on the gear icon on the top right section of your screen. Just like the Automate Admin Center, Power Apps Admin Center help us to manage the data policies, the environments, the user licenses, the quotas, and all the apps within your organization. Then now let's talk about what is PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate. So it is a management tool that basically complements the existing admin center. And we can use the PowerShell automation to quickly manage the Power Apps, Power Automate. Now that brings us the question, since this particular commandlets are complementary to the existing admin center, then why we should even care about this, right? Like what kind of features this particular commandlets bring on the table. So using PowerShell, you can find some additional information that you cannot see with the admin center. Now, this is true with not only with the Power Platform Admin Center, but the Microsoft 65 Admin Center, or if you go to the Azure portal as well. So when it comes to giving you features via the user interface, the companies like Microsoft or any other company that is providing that, they will be having some limited resources. They cannot think of each and every scenario that an admin will need and then build a UI functionality for that. It will be too time consuming and too expensive. So generally the trend is they try to cover basic functionality in the admin center, and they give us some kind of support via PowerShell. So in case if you have a specific need, so you can use PowerShell to get your job done. And there are some features that you can only configure by using PowerShell. And one of the key advantage of using PowerShell, which I personally like, is you can use PowerShell to perform bulk operation. If you rely on user interface or admin center to do that, chances are you're looking at like too many button clicks and you have to wait for that operation to get over. So PowerShell is really great in performing bulk operations. And it also helps it's great in filtering data. If you want to quickly run the report, you can just quickly run that via PowerShell and filter out the exact data that you need. It allows us to automate repetitive tasks, and it also make it easy to print and save the data. If you really want to generate some reports from around your Power Automate or Power Apps, we can quickly do that using the PowerShell commandlets. And another one of the key advantages, you don't need the access to the premium plans. Like some of the features that are available in Admin Center are only available if you have access to premium plans. But those kind of things you can typically bypass using the PowerShell commandlets. And when it comes to giving the analogy, I so think of your admin center as is as the same as using a public transportation. So let's say if you had to go from place A to place B, and if there is a proper support for public transportation, maybe you will be able to get there. But what if the place you're trying to go is not on the route of public transportation? In that case, then you have to go to the nearest point, and from there, then you have to use your own transportation mechanism, and that can be phone a friend, or Uber, or you can just take a taxi from that moment. Whereas using PowerShell is like driving your own vehicle, like driving your own car or motorbike, where you will be in fully in charge and you will have all the control from where you can go. However, just like in driving, you will need to own a vehicle, or you need to have a vehicle, and you need to do some preparatory work before you can start your journey. Same kind of concept is available with PowerShell as well. Now, how to use PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate. And I know there's a question in the chat window, and I will come to that. So since Power Apps and Power Automate, those are kind of services which are hosted by Microsoft. Now, there is a debate in the industry. Some people call it as a software as a service. Some people call it as a platform as a service. But the bottom line is we don't have control over the infrastructure where the Power Apps and Power Automate is getting hosted. So if you have to use PowerShell commandlets, we need to install a remote management tool. If you are coming from the on-premise background, for example, SharePoint on-prem or Dynamics 65 on-prem, there we already have commands which are already available on the server where those services are hosted. In that case, you don't need to install any additional remote management tool. But just like in the case of SharePoint Online, for Power Apps and Power Automate, we have to use the remote management tools. And there are two modules available, and those two modules are separate depending on what kind of operation you would like to do. So if you would like to perform administrative operations, then the module that you have to use is microsoft.powerapps.administration.powershell. And if you would like to use the commandlets as a maker, then the module that you have to use is microsoft.powerapps.powershell. Now, if you notice carefully, both the modules say Power Apps. However, inside the module of Power Apps, the commandlets for Power Automate is also included. That means if you only want to use commandlets for Power Automate, you still need to install the same module. There is no separate module available for Power Automate. All the commandlets are combined into single module, and they have labeled it as Power Apps. There are some of the prerequisites that you need to have before you can start executing the PowerShell commandlets. For the creators, like if you are a creator of the apps or if you're a creator of the flow, then you need to be a user with a valid Power Apps and Power Automate license. If it does not have license, or if you don't have license, you cannot execute this commandlets. You will get an error. And one of the key thing is the access is limited to the resources that you have been created or shared with you. For example, let's say Nandeep and I are working in the same group, and let's say Nandeep has created 5 flows and I have created 5 flows. And out of the 5 flows that Nandeep has created, if he has shared 2 of the flows with me, then I will be able to see only 7 flows. 5 flows I have created and 2 flows that Nandeep has shared. And in case of Nandeep, he will be able to only see and manipulate 5 flows that he has created. He will not be able to see the 5 flows that I have created. Now, when it comes to the Power Apps commandlets for administrator, now you need to be a user with any of these following roles. You need to be either a global administrator or Azure Active Directory global admin or a Dynamics 65 service administrator. And another thing is you need to sign in for either of Power Apps or Power Automate Admin Center at least once. I know there are a lot of administrators who just doesn't want to open admin center at all. They just live and die by PowerShell. So if you are into that category, you still at least have to sign into the admin center once, and that can be either Power Apps or it can be Power Automate. Now, there are a couple of questions regarding the slides and the recording. The recording, yes, I think this session is getting recorded, and Nandip is and the rest of the organizers are going to post this on the Pune Tech Community YouTube channel. So maybe someone from the organizing committee can quickly post the link of that YouTube channel in the chat window. Now let me scroll up. Do we need a license to develop Power Apps? Yes, Gurudev. Yes, you need appropriate license to develop a Power App. There are multiple licenses available. Uh, you can get Power Apps as part of your existing Microsoft 365 subscription or Dynamics subscription, or you can also sign up for Power App per user plan or per app plan. And also there is an additional feature or additional licensing option available recently called Power Apps Pay As You Go, which is which gets combined with your Azure subscription. However, you will need to have a lot much like there are some certain criteria that you have to your company needs to satisfy before you can participate in that particular option. All right. So so when it comes to, let's say you install both the modules, then these are the typical patterns that you will be seeing when it comes to the commandlet. So it will be really hard for you to remember each and every commandlet. I never try to remember the commandlets. What I try to remember is what's the typical naming pattern they use, and just try to then guess the name of the commandlet. Sometimes I'm able to guess, sometimes I just have to use the help in the PowerShell, or I have to use the help on the internet. So this is the typical pattern you'll see for Power Apps commandlet, where for the maker commandlets, it will start with the verb hyphen Power App and then the noun. For example, for administrator, it's going to be verb hyphen admin Power App and then the noun. The example will be get Power App. So if you execute this commandlet, then you will be basically printing or displaying all the Power Apps that you have access to. Get Power App connection, get admin Power App environment role assignment. There are a few commandlets which doesn't follow or don't follow this particular pattern. For example, get tenant settings and remove allowed consent plans. Similarly, the Power Automate commandlets, it will have a verb, then hyphen flow, and then the noun. Now, if you're totally new to the Power Platform, then you may not know that the earlier or the older name of Power Automate was Flow. Now, whenever Microsoft Go rebrands a particular product, then the marketing team does a good job of updating the name at various public-facing portals. But in some of the system or backend system, you'll see that a lot of services will still use the old name. For example, if you see that some commandlets for Teams, you'll see those still point to the communication. They still point to CSOL, which is the old name even prior to the link server was. Same is the case with Power Automate. So most of the Power Automate commandlets will still have flow in it, and this is going to be the pattern that you'll be seeing for the maker and administrator. For example, is get flow owner role, get admin flow owner role, and just like Power Apps, there will be a few commandlets which will not be following these patterns at all. So if you would like to find all the available commands in your particular machine, then this is the command you can use. And again, this is true for any kind of PowerShell modules that you're using. Basically, the command that you will be using is get hyphen command and space, and then you need to provide the string of whatever commands you're trying to find. Same is the case with the flow as well. And if you would like to get help on any of the specific commandlets, this is the syntax you will be following. With that, let me see. Okay, let me finish these slides and then I'll just jump into the demo section. So when it comes to the Power Apps PowerShell commandlet, these are the different things we can do. And again, you can go to this link on docs.microsoft.com and find more information about what are some of the different scenarios you can make. So you can, as a reader, as a maker or a developer of the Power Apps, you can read environments, read, update, and delete a Canvas app that you have access to, read, update, and delete Canvas app permissions, read and delete connections, read, update, and delete connection permissions, read and delete a custom connector. When it comes to the tenant administration, these are some of the things we can do. We can read and delete environments. We can read, update, and delete environment permissions. Read, update, remove, recover Canvas apps. This comes really handy. We can also read and delete connections, read, update, and delete connection permissions, read, delete custom connectors, read, update, delete custom connector permissions. And there are a lot of other things we can do using the PowerShell commandlets. Same kind of options are available with Power Automate as well. So I'm not going to just repeat that, but you can go to this particular link on the docs.microsoft.com and find more information about that. With that, let's go to the demo section. So as I mentioned, the number one thing you will need to do is you need to install a couple of remote management tools. Okay, so Gurdeep, I'm coming to that. So first thing you need to do is you need to install the two modules. And the first module is depending on what your role is. If you are an administrator, then this is the commandlet that you have to use to install the commandlets for administration. And if you are a developer, if you are a maker and you don't want to deal with the administrative thing, then these are the commandlets that you should be, these are the models that you should be installing on your machine. And again, everything works on the remote management principle, so you can pretty much install it on any Windows machine right now. I don't think this commandlets are available on other OS. I think only the Windows OS are supported right now. And once you install the commandlets, then you can quickly check whether okay, looks like I'm not using the okay. So so the easiest way to validate whether you already have the commands or the models installed or not is you can quickly just look for the commands on your machine by using either git command and then search for Power App, or then you can just search for the flow as well. And if you see, then you can find out, okay, these are the different commandlets that are available in machine, and you will be seeing the source, like from which particular module this particular commandlets are coming from. Now, since I stressed a couple of times that, okay, everything is done with the principle of remote management. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make a connection to your Power Apps and Power Automate infrastructure. And the way you can do the connection is you have to use the commandlet called add Power Apps account. And again, you'll be using the same commandlet even if you are trying to make connection to the Flow or Power Automate. This is the single commandlet you will be using. And the moment you hit enter, it will ask you to log in. And here you can provide your credentials for your account. And if everything is correct, then you will not get any error message. If there is no error message, then that means you didn't receive any error. However, let's say if your password or email address is incorrect, you will be saying error message in the red font here. So once you made a connection, then now we are ready to make to execute commandlets against the tenant where this particular for which this particular user exists. So for example, if I would like to get all the flows that my particular account have access to, so I can just use the commandlet get flow. And again, it's asking me for to log in again. I have just few hours before I update my password or change my password. That's why it's prompting me again and again, but this should not happen. Typically, once you log in, your session should be active for at least 6 to 8 hours. And now this I just listed all the flows that I have access to in this particular tenant. Again, this information that is getting displayed is not very user friendly. What you can do is then if you would like to just limit the kind of information that is getting displayed, what you can do is you can use the pipe and let's try the poll. Okay. All right. We will come to this a little bit later. Looks like I'm not using the correct syntax here. Okay. So the correct syntax here is and all right. So this is how you can limit the information that is coming from the commandlets and limit what can get displayed on screen. So for example, here I can also select the display name as well. So this can show me, okay, these are the flows my current account has access to, and these are its ID, the flow ID, and these are its a name as well. Similarly, if you would like to get the list of all the apps that you have access to, the commandlet that you will be using is get a Power App. And this should show you all the apps that you have access to in this particular tenant. Now let me see if there are any questions in the chat in the chat window so far. Looks like thanks Nandi for providing all this information. So Sujit asked a question regarding can we create update DLP policies? Yes, Sujit, you can do that. Like there are more commandlets available for you to update and create a DLP policies. And thanks, Sandeep, for providing all the links. And Kiran, yes, you can also use get install module commandlet to find out all the installed modules. All right, so Jay is asking the question, can we get run history older than 28 days? The answer is no. The reason is that's a platform limitation. But what you can do is you can import that periodically and save that somewhere else. Like the platform itself will not store that information for you. Okay, Dhruvil has a question. Can we get an example of a feature that is premium but can be used with PowerShell? I will come to that, Dhruvil, in a minute. So let me go with the next section. So I will give you here a real life scenario. Like a couple of years before, we started working on a client engagement. And the client had a team of a couple of developers who created a lot of flows and apps using Power Apps. However, for some reason, they were no longer working with the firm. And then the firm needed some help in terms of finding out what those flows are doing. And then we had to implement some changes as well. So the IT department didn't have a clue how many flows are there and what their purpose is. So the first thing that we had to do is then find out all the available flows and apps in the tenant and then review those flows and see what they are doing, whether to keep them or whether to disable them. Now, we had two options available to us. Someone with a global admin account can go and then manually go to each and every flow and app and then give us the access. Or we can use the PowerShell, where while running the PowerShell, we can within few minutes, we can grant all the required people, the owners access to the existing flows and apps. So here I'll be showing you a quick example. And the scripts that I'm showing you today are already available on GitHub. So if you go to my GitHub page, both the scripts are available. Let me quickly see and post this link in the chat window. So if anyone is interested, you can quickly go there and start taking a peek at these scripts. Let me first remove the formatting from here, and then I will post this link. The scripts are very, very straightforward. Like even if you read those, you can get what exactly you're trying to do. But let me just pull up the script on the screen here. All right, and let me also have the subtitles visible as well. So as you can see, if you go on the top, we are just specifying what is the purpose of this particular script and how you can run it. And these are the three modules you will need to install or to execute the script. The first module is for the administration. The second is for the maker. And the third one is for Azure AD. Now you may be wondering why I need a module for Azure AD, and there is a reason for it. So on line number 37, what we are provided is we are providing the email address of the user that needs to be added as an owner in all Power Apps. Okay, let me go to this. This is a better example. So here we are providing the email address of the user, which we need to add to all the existing flows. And then the first thing we are doing is we are making the connection to the flow infrastructure here by using the commandlet add Power App account. And then the next thing we are doing is we are also connecting to the Azure AD as well. And on line number 46, we are getting the name of the environment. In case you have multiple environments, then you have to basically run the way the script is. It just do it for a single environment. If you have multiple environment, you need to add additional support where you iterate through your environment first, and one by one, then you execute the rest of the business logic. So here on line number 46, we are getting the access to the default, getting the object of the default environment. And then we are just displaying some information about that for debugging purposes on line number 48, like what's the environment ID is. And then on line number 49, we are getting the user ID of the email address that we have provided. And that's the reason we need this Azure AD commandlets. So the commandlet that we'll be using to add the owner's access, it requires, it does not accept the email address, but however, we need to provide the user ID. And that's where this Azure AD module come into picture. And then once we have the user ID for the debugging purposes, we are displaying that on the screen. And this is the most important step. On line number 54, we are using this commandlet get admin flow. And this will give you all the flows that are there in the tenant. And it will store in this particular collection called flows. And right now, the only thing we are interested is in the name of the flow, or that is the ID of the flow and its display name. And starting from line number 55, we are just going to iterate through each and every flow. And then under try catch block, we have this particular commandlet, which is line number 62, set admin flow owner role. So that's the commandlet we'll be using to add the owner using the PowerShell. Now, there is a good, whenever you're trying to use any PowerShell commandlet that you haven't used before, there are a couple of ways you can quickly find the help information. You can either use browser or you can also use the PowerShell as well. For that, all you have to do is use get help and then just type the name of the commandlet that you're trying to get help with. So in this case, it is showing me what kind of what is this commandlet does, what's the syntax and the description. But this is sometimes is not sufficient. We want to have additional information. So in that case, you can add additional parameter. For example, if you would like to see the example, then this is the example this is the way you can use this particular commandlet. If you would like to see the detailed information or detailed help of this particular commandlet, then this is you just have to add additional parameter there. And if you had to add the full information, full available help, then just add full as a parameter, and then you'll be seeing all the help, all the information that you typically find on Microsoft documentation right in your PowerShell window itself. So that way you don't have to leave this window. Everything you need will be here, and then you can make necessary changes in your particular script. So this was very simple, straightforward script that can come very handy, especially if you are starting new, or if you have a new team member joining and you just have to give that team member access to all the existing flows that you have created so far. So for that, before I run this particular script, let me quickly show you how exactly the end result will be. So here I logged in with my account and I'm at the Flow UI. And under Cloudflow, I have just created one Cloudflow here, which I haven't shared with anyone else. I'm the only owner here. And if I go back, and all the other flows that I have created and I have shared with other people are listed under shared with me. So the moment I share this script, share this flow with someone else, this flow will no longer be available under Cloud Flows, but it will be available under shared with me. So now let's go ahead and run this script. And once the execution of this script is finished, then this particular flow will no longer be listed under Cloud Flows, but it will be listed under shared with me, and it will have multiple owners here. So let me quickly um, run this. And again, it will ask me for the login because, and it will ask me for at least two times, one for uh, Power Automate, and second one is for the Azure AD. Okay, for some reason it's asking me one more time here. All right, this should be it. And now the script will go and it will keep on adding the owners. So I will let it run. And in the meantime, I will let me quickly scan through the chat. Looks like there are so lot of chat going on here. Okay. Okay, let me see. Okay. Shruti, yes, that's the same thing we are doing right now. Yes, we can write a script and file and execute it. Okay, then.
Yeah, Prashant, or maybe I can read it for you quickly if you want. So just one
No, it's
question.
okay.
Yeah, oh, sure. Okay, all right.
Is it possible to get number of active sessions? The apps ad, yes, if the command line is available, that's definitely possible. Yes, Shruti has another question. Yes, you should be able to also delete the user information as well. Like if you would like to delete, there are some organizations where if someone is leaving, then they would like to delete all their user accounts from various locations. So those kind of things are possible. And the best way to do that is I will recommend Shruti just to go to the Microsoft documentation and find out the user management command it's there. Looks like this particular script has finished. So let me go back to the Power Automate UI. And now if I refresh this, this particular flow will no longer be listed under Cloud Flow and it will be listed under shared with me. So let me refresh this. And if I click on shared with me here, and if I open this flow, you should be seeing an additional owner here. And now one thing that not many people are aware of, if your flow is using a SharePoint connection, then you have an additional option when it comes to adding the owner. So when it comes to adding the owners, you can either use users or you can also use groups. But if your flow is connected to SharePoint, you can also use existing SharePoint list and library as a owner. So a couple of advantage this particular option gives you is if I let's say I give this particular list where this flow is attached to as the owner of this particular flow, then every member or every user who has access to this particular library will automatically get access to this particular flow as well. So there's a quick and easy way where you can conveniently manage the permission. Again, this option only exists if your flow is connected to SharePoint. Like for example, if you try to do the same thing with this particular flow, and if I click on edit, I will not see that SharePoint option at all because this flow is not connected to SharePoint at all. All right, there are some additional commandlets. I just quickly want to give you like how exactly those work. Now let's if you would like to find out, let's go here and clear this up. If you would like to find out a particular user details regarding the flow usage, you can use this commandlet, and this is the information that comes in. Now, if you would like to export all the flows that are there, and if you would like to export that into the CSV file, then this is the command that you can use. This kind of information comes handy, especially if someone in your organization is interested, you can just quickly use this commandlet. However, since it's using get admin flow, commandlet, which is only available for administrator. That means you need to have administrator role there. And then the CSV will look like something like this. Okay, what's next? Now, if you would like to find out all the API connection that you have in your default environment, this is the commandlet that you can use and can show you like all the API connections you have. And there are lots of other things you can do. I highly recommend you to go to the Microsoft site here. For example, uh, Microsoft Automate. And here you will be seeing the list of the commandlets, how exactly you have to install, what are some of the commandlets available. So if someone has any question, whether something is possible or not, and I'll be honest with you, I never try to remember all this stuff because we have so many things that we have to work with. We have Power Apps, commandlets, we have Power Automate, we have Microsoft 65. Within Microsoft 65, we have Teams, SharePoint. So I try to say either try to remember what's the naming convention they are using and try to come up with the commandlet name itself. And if the commandlet is not there, then just look up the documentation and see which particular commandlet then I have to use. So here you can see there is a big list of commandlets available depending on a particular operation you would like to do. And these are for, and there are some operation examples are also there. So definitely go through this, and chances are something that he's looking for is already listed here with proper sample and additional details. All right. All right, let's go to the next. So in case if you're not familiar, there is a really good module available called PnP PowerShell. Now, Microsoft has a PowerShell modules for or commandlets for both on-premise SharePoint and also for SharePoint Online. However, the majority of the operation we can do with those commandlets are limited to administrative level. Like we can manipulate the object still site collection in SharePoint Online or sites in SharePoint Online, and in case of SharePoint on-prem web application and some form settings. But if you would like to manipulate or work with list and libraries or item level or document using PowerShell, then PnP PowerShell is a really good way to get used to that. Uh, it is not a product of Microsoft. You have to keep that in mind. It's an open source community driven initiative. So you can expect that there will be some issues, especially in the recent releases or beta releases, and you will not be able to open a support ticket with Microsoft if you have any issue with PnP PowerShell because it's not from Microsoft. It's an open source community driven initiative. However, since it's an open source community driven initiative, you will get lots and lots of help from the community. And I think one of the organizers is part of the PnP core team, so they can talk more about like how exactly this works. But this is the one thing you should keep in mind, especially using anything from the from the open source community and not directly from a vendor like Microsoft or AWS, where you cannot directly go to those vendors and create support ticket and ask for the support. However, it is widely used. I personally use a lot for a lot of my client engagement. It helps you to implement a lot of complex stuff, especially to the granular level of list, libraries, documents, and item level. And behind the scene, it uses a client-side object model. and you can go to this link and find more information about that. And depending on what version of SharePoint you're using, you need to install different modules or different MSI files. Like there's a different MSI file for SharePoint Online, for SharePoint 2019, 16, and 13. Unfortunately, PnP PowerShell is not available for SharePoint 2010. Now let's talk about some of the best practices that you should be following, where you should always be using a test environment to test your PowerShell commandlets. You should never run your PowerShell commandlets on the production for the first time, because that's strict no-no. Because depending on what kind of setting change you are doing, you may be damaging more. You may be doing a more damage than the good if you don't know what you're doing with this. And if you're unsure, and if you just would like to validate the syntax and the parameters of a particular commandlet, you can always add what if towards the end, just to quickly test out whether everything is good. Because if you add what if, then the commandlet will not get execute. However, all the parameters will get validated. And you should have a proper naming convention for scripts. Like I have seen so many examples where uh, yes, the people create the scripts, but they will name it as script one, script two, and they will not leave any details inside the script at all. So having the proper naming convention and proper description is very helpful. And this will be helpful not only for you, but other team members in your organization as well. Like if you ask me, I typically forget after a week what I wrote and what was the business logic I was thinking of that time. So that's why I try to use add as many notes as possible while I'm developing something, so that if I had to use the script after 6 months, 12 months, I don't have to really, give a lot of strain on my brain. I can just quickly see and what I was doing and just get from it here. Same thing if you would like to pass the script to your team member or someone else, then they don't have to read the script line by line. They just have to read the comments and see what exactly I'm trying to do here. And most important thing that I have seen with a lot of PowerShell script is you should be never storing credentials in the script. That's like a strict no-no. And this is so true when it comes to implementing the PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate, because the commandlet that we have to use to connect to uh, uh, both Power Apps and Power Automate via PowerShell is add Power Apps account. And for some reason, if you let's say, and if you see the example of this particular commandlet, this is how we can use it. However, if you see here, the password that we have to pass is we have to pass in a clear text, and if you want to run this on automated basis, then that's kind of a strict no. You should never be storing the passwords in the script. There are other ways where you can bypass this. So highly recommend to check the Microsoft documentation in that particular use case. Again, remember technology and tool does not matter. What kind of problem you're solving matters here. So in case you would like to get your hands dirty, and let's say you are totally new to Power Platform, or you have access to Power Platform, however, you don't have access to the admin features of Power Platform, this is a really good program available from Microsoft called Microsoft 365 Developer Program, where all you have to do is go to this particular link and sign up for the developer program. And once you sign up, you'll get an email, and then that email will come with the steps to create your own Microsoft 365 subscription for free. That subscription will come with E5 licenses for 25 users, and you will be a global administrator. And the validity of that tenant will be 90 days. And if you're, excuse me, using this tenant for personal training and development, then Microsoft will automatically increase the validation to additional 90 days, and they will keep on doing it as long as this program is active and you are not violating any licensing terms. So I'm personally using a tenant through this program from last 3 years. So you can imagine, as long as this program is active, you'll be having your own tenant with E5 licenses for 25 users with global admin rights, which is really good for personal training and development. You can always sign up for 1 month trial as well. But however, for trials, you have to use your credit card. Now, in case you would like to automate the scripts, right? If you wrote the scripts and you would like to use them for some automation, and for that you would like to use some Azure resources, then there are a really good couple of good ways available where you can get your personal Azure subscription. My favorite and my recommended one is try to see if you have access to MSDN account. If you have access to MSDN account, then go to your MSDN portal and see if you get access to Azure credits for free per month. For example, if you have access to MSDN Enterprise, that comes with $150 of credit per month for free, and you don't need to use credit card at all. And it's a really good way to use Azure without having to worry about spending any extra money in case you did any mistake there. You can always sign up for free trial. However, when you sign up for free trial, you have to use a credit card. There is another program available called Azure for Students where you don't need a credit card. All you need is a valid.edu account from a participating school and institution. And depending on your country, you may get some $100 credit. Again, just check this particular link and check if you have an edu account, check if that account qualifies for Azure for Students or not. So hopefully the content we covered today made you explore PowerShell for Power Apps and Power Automate, and you will go home and play with it. And if you don't have access to your own tenant, definitely check out Microsoft 365 Developer Program and get your own a tenant as well. So these are the things we covered today, and these are the references. With that, we come to an end, and I will quickly check the chat window to see if any question that I haven't answered the questions yet. But in case you have any future questions, feel free to email me, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well, and I'm also available on Twitter. So let me quickly see the questions.